The Duranguito neighborhood was founded by migrants from Durango, Mexico in the early 1900s. It is El Paso's first neighborhood and was even where Pancho Villa, a Mexican revolutionary general, stored supplies during the Mexican Revolution. It is a culturally rich neighborhood that was home to many residents who had no intention to leave the area. However, in the summer of 2017, the city of El Paso began buying properties in the neighborhood so that they could demolish them to make room for the $180 million sports arena that they planned to build. Then, property owners that had sold buildings to the city began trying to intimidate and strong-arm residents to move out.
But the city so far has displaced 39 people, all been poor. They've broken up communities, they've moved elderly people and furniture. Many of them don't speak English. All of them are poor.
The residents had had enough. Protesters began assembling in the neighborhood to show the city that the buildings would not be demolished without a fight. In June 2017, 4 Duranguito tenants filed a restraining order against the city of El Paso to try to restrain the city from issuing demolition permits in the neighborhood, stop trying to relocate residents, and to not demolish any buildings until a final verdict was decided. The restraining order stated that they cannot begin demolition until August 1st.
On July 17th, the case was taken to Austin, Texas to decide whether or not the city of El Paso could build a sports arena. The court decided that the city could not build a sports arena. However, they were allowed to build a multi-purpose center in the area. Then, the El Paso County Commissioners Court hired Hardy Heck Moore Incorporated, an Austin-based historic preservation consulting firm, to survey the area and determine the historical value of the buildings. They found that there are 14 possible buildings that could eventually be put on the National Register of Historic Places. These buildings include a former brothel building, a 100-year-old Chinese laundry building, and a fire station designed by famous El Paso architect Henry Trost. An archaeological excavation of the area was conducted in 1994 that found artifacts that dated back to 1827. Any artifacts that might remain under the ground will be destroyed by the demolition.
In September 2017, the case was taken to the 8th Court of Appeals, and the court ruled that the city must further postpone demolition of 8 properties. A huge win for protesters. However, the next day residents awoke to find out that 5 buildings had been partially demolished.
The city allowed the private property owners to proceed with demolition anyway the following morning, September 12th, 2017. And a bulldozer went in illegally tried to demolish these buildings and went around, zipped around, and knocked out the corners of the buildings, do as much damage as possible before we could stop them.
After the partial demolition, protesters were enraged. Large groups of people gathered in the neighborhood, and people began chaining themselves to the buildings to prevent further demolition.
Police came out in riot against unarmed, peaceful protesters, and did not allow them, if they left the neighborhood, just by their barricades, they would not allow them back in. And they refused to allow them to have food or water. And outside the barricades, people were trying to throw pieces over the wall. This was stopping them. Meanwhile, members of city council, like Sandra Hernandez-Brown, were bringing pizza to the police instead of to the people in the neighborhood.
The building of the arena is also going to be much more expensive than anticipated.
The bond from 2012 came with a price tag of $475 million. The city, the leadership of this mayor, has added over $126 million to that.
Then, this month, crews guarded by dozens of police began fencing the proposed area site in the Union Plaza district. Although the fate of Duranguito is uncertain, protesters can pride themselves on the fact that they have been able to prevent the demolition of the neighborhood for almost 2 years. This month, an exhibit opened in the UTEP Centennial Museum honoring the neighborhood and its incredible history. But Duranguito needs to be more than a temporary exhibit in a museum. This history deserves to be protected and not destroyed by capitalist leaders that do not care about the people, our people.
I just want to clarify, I'm Max Grossman, Associate Professor of Art History at UTEP, that the preceding conversation was had off campus, private property, and does not involve my title, official position, anything that I do for my employer. I'm acting as a private citizen, having a private conversation.